Hi, I'm Will Bridges from your team here at Trade House Funds, and we're here for this week's edition of Momo Calls. We haven't been back since Wednesday of last week. I have made some decent progress in my own challenge account because I want to do this with you guys and show you guys, hey, it's possible. It's not impossible to make money trading. Even though it might feel that way sometimes, especially at this part of the year. But that said, I'm going to take a look at the economic calendar. It may look quiet this week, but we've got a ton of forecasts already available for next week and some big announcements on the way, such as the US jobs report, the non-farm payroll, some Chinese manufacturing numbers. There's a lot happening. First thing I'm going to do, I'm going to show you the risk disclaimer because we are going to look at some economic calendar events and also the live charts I'm going to show you. I'm going to look at the yen, the oil chart, S&P 500. I don't know, see how much fun we want to have. But there's no such thing as a guaranteed trade or investment. Everything here will be for educational purpose only. So pay attention to your risk, people. That is the number one reason why traders make money, is that they are good at managing risk. And that being said, Japan, to start off the week on Sunday, actually came out on, I guess this would have been Christmas Eve. And they were talking about the advantages of slightly higher inflation and the flexibility that it gives the central bank. And that could mean that they want to raise rates in Japan. That's been kind of the rumor for, well, the last few weeks at least, if not longer. And you can see that on the chart. We're going to get there in a second. We haven't seen a breakout down, so we're not in bear territory for the dollar yen yet, but that could be a big opportunity to be bullish on the JPY. And that being said, manufacturing has been pretty awful here in the US. I'm gonna click this here so you guys can see the numbers. But we've been consistently, bad as far as manufacturing goes in the US for quite some time. It hasn't had an effect all year on the stock market. I think we're over 20% in gains for the S&P 500 this year, which is incredible. There is a big difference between, the top 20, 30% and the bottom 70% of S&P 500 stocks. So that means that, the Facebooks and the Teslas, the Microsofts are outperforming everybody else, and that might be why we're kind of masking this awful manufacturing that's happened for all of the last year. So hopefully this turns around in 2024. We'll see what happens, but that seems to be kind of par for the course right now. And manufacturing is also down in other countries. It's not just here. So everything is relative. This doesn't mean the dollar is going to crash. It's been kind of sideways for quite some time. But that being said, unemployment claims, kind of par for the course. That's not a crazy number. Pending home sales flat, though. And we just had, I want to say the 10-year fell to under 4% Treasury bond. So now we're looking at some of the lowest interest rates we've seen here to buy a home, in 6 months. And that's a big deal. So hasn't been enough to make a dent yet. So that could tell me that, hey, maybe the dollar's got to come down a little bit more, and that could be at the expense of the yen. So the dollar yen is probably the most exciting thing to look at from a trading perspective. And we're going to do that here today. And if that's exciting, then gold's exciting and oil's exciting and a lot of things are exciting. So let's just try to keep ourselves contained for just a minute. I want to look at next week because there's a lot of forecast out. I already told you guys that, but manufacturing PMIs in China are going to be a big deal. And that's Saturday. So the markets are going to be closed. You might want to take a look at this before you open your charts on Sunday and decide to start trading, or Monday, whatever part of the world that you're in. But that's definitely one I'm going to want to pay attention to. And to go along with that is this other Chinese manufacturing number. Okay, so don't sleep on these Chinese numbers. That will have a big effect, I think, mostly on things like oil, gold. Okay. Silver has still been kind of taking a bath. It seems like we might go test, we're in the 23s now, I think, again, as I'm filming this video. But really interesting story for silver that it can't seem to get above the 25 mark. But that might change here soon. It's been a frustrating 2022 for silver, people. But that being said, manufacturing still looking awful here. If I open this up, you'll be able to see this is the US. Okay, so not sexy that we're in this area here. And you go back to, times that things didn't go well. And this is really when, let's just say I don't want to compare to times like 2008 back here. And really even January 2016, this is the COVID crisis back here. This is the .com bubble over here. So really nothing has been happening here, which is really interesting. But BTFP ends in March. So if that safety net goes away, it'd be interesting to see what happens to the banking industry and risk assets in March when BTFP ends. So I don't know, maybe they'll extend that. If you don't know what BTFP is, then you should probably figure it out and you should Google it. there's a multitude of information out there on BTFP if you search for it, but generally it's been overused, I think, in the recent history, which is a big reason why gold is as high as it is. But job reports are still looking solid here in USA. We're getting nearer to the 6% rate up in Canada, though. So Canada has been creeping up. Doesn't mean that they won't go any higher. You know, there's plenty of room for there to be more unemployment in Canada, I think. But I don't know. We'll see how far that goes. I think New Zealand is actually looking for higher unemployment, but Canada has already come out and said that they're going to hold rates. So, you know, they're posturing at least that they're going to be more hawkish than the USA, which could mean a nice move on the dollar Canadian. Okay, so I'm going to take a look at the dollar Canadian and the Europe. Also, this flash CPI estimate. This is flash inflation numbers, you know, under the radar here at an orange level, you know, but this is higher than expected. So if they have better inflation than expected, I might see strength in the euro. So might be fun to trade things like maybe the Euro USD could be a nice opportunity, but you know, I might stick more towards the, you know, I want to play strong versus weak. So if anything, you know, the dollar yen could be a good place to look. Euro yen is probably not going to be as strong, but who knows? In general, I'm looking for yen strength. So let's get over to the charts, and let me click on that and get to the right screen here. We're going to do oil first because it's up. And this one's going to be interesting, I think, because depending on what happens with the Chinese manufacturing numbers here on Saturday and Monday, this could really go one of two ways. And if we do head south, there are a lot of levels that we could go to. But let's go ahead and just find the heavy ones real quick. And let's do the smart resistance. We're on the monthly chart right now, so this is going to be more long-term outlook that we're talking about here. But if we can get underneath, let's just say we could come down here and check this 63.79 number. That would not be crazy to see. That's really where the big support is on the high time frame. Otherwise, up top, we've got, you know, 95 is very far away. So, you know, from a trading perspective, you know, it almost makes most sense, you know, if you're looking at this from the 1,000 foot. And I'll just show you guys. You know, this is really where the range is. And this is really kind of what, you know, maybe not what the trade is per se for you, but this is really kind of the zone that I'm looking at. And let's get one more line in here. And stop loss wise, you know, I want to be out of Dodge if we get underneath this 63 price. Under 60, I should say, is really where I want to get out. Okay, if I'm buying this thing. And, you know, I've been buying it for quite some time. I think I've got my dashboard up here. I can show you guys real quick. This is my dashboard. And we're creeping. We're going to win. It's just a matter of time. Right now we're at, I don't know, 26,000 and change. But it's a matter of time for me. So I've been working oil heavy myself. I really just want to beat Jeff Watkins. I don't know if you guys understand. Jeff is the managing director here with Trade House Funds. I'd really love to just beat Jeff on the 25K challenge. Just because, I mean, why not? I mean, we're going to be doing trading competitions here soon also, and I'm hoping to in January actually start launching that stuff. If you're not following us on this stuff, then join Discord. I'm going to send an email out to the newsletter. If you go to our homepage and scroll to the bottom of the page, then you'll find a way to sign up for our newsletter. And I'm going to put a lot of this information that I put in the economic calendar in written format. So if you're not, let's just say if you're not paying great attention and you don't write down everything that I say, it's not the end of the world. But oil, I do think, is bullish. And as long as the Chinese numbers come in what we expect, I think it should come up much higher, especially with what's happening in the Suez. Because whether or not Maersk is already going back through with the U.S. Navy, just kind of walking them through there as you know, interesting to me. Other countries are not going to have that advantage of the U.S. Navy escort. So let's go ahead and look at the USDJPY. And, you know, if there is risk or uncertainty, then usually this is one to pay attention to. I'm going to clear all this stuff out. We're on the high time frame now. We're going to zoom out. And fun part about this one is, you know, really we've got this somewhat of a double top that's forming here. I'm going to pull a Fibonacci. This is a smart fib tool here. Smart trader, really making my life less complicated. But this is really where I'm expecting for the dollar yen to end up, and it's really all the way down at the low 130s. And you know, that might sound like a crazy low price to a lot of people, but that used to be a high price. And there's really no reason why we can't come back down there and test some of these levels, because I mean, really, we just haven't. There's a ton of missed targets, even lower, all the way down here at 125. So wouldn't be crazy for 125 to happen. That number's happened, I don't know, every few years for the last 30. So really wouldn't be crazy to see numbers even lower than that. But this level here below at 132 really looks sexy to me, and we're falling towards it fast right now. So especially if the Japanese decide to raise rates, I could get there very quickly. If we come down to the lower time frame here, in the last few days, weeks, we've seen some big moves here on the dollar yen. You look at this one here. This is just a day. Like, how many pips is that? Just check this out. This is all in one day. We're talking about 500 plus pips in a day. This could be a huge movement. Okay, huge. And definitely one I want to pay attention to. Another place I want to go look for easy money in my mind. When I say easy money, I say easy place to win or lose money, because it will move. And that's why you want to, well, you want to trade with a stop loss. This is the pound yen, I think, one of the sexier charts. That dollar yen is a little bit less telling, I think, than this pound yen, because this looks very sideways on the weekly chart, and it has been for years. It does look like we're starting to roll over here. Come to the month. But those of you that are into the wolf wave game, this is beautiful. And I don't know if you guys can tell, I'm a little bit of a dork, but I love to test the W, and this is a big one. Maybe just be because my name is also William, but this W, I'm just looking for this little cursive tail to happen at the end there, and I want to test these lower prices, and those are 1,500 pips away. I think the pound yen might be one of the biggest opportunities of the year, and I think that we are getting the evening star of a lifetime right now. Okay, so we get a breakout down here below 176, then there could be big movement down here all the way to the 160s area. Okay, so huge opportunity here. I'm in this one, full disclosure, so should be fun to trade that one. I think a lot of yen pairs are going to be fun. I was also looking for strength in the Canadian dollar, so if I go look at something like the pound Canadian, is another fun place to go. Those of you that are, well, it looks like I've already done all the hard work here. But yeah, this is what I'm looking for in the pound Canadian. We've been very sideways for quite some time. This is a lower low here. These are lower highs that have been forming. Otherwise, I wouldn't have been able to draw that beautiful blue line there. But reality of the situation is there are missed targets down here, and I'm looking at 160. That's almost 1,000 pips away on the pound Canadian. I'm still in that one too, actually. So let's keep on moving here, and let's look at the SPX here. This is the S&P 500, and you guys may have it as US 500 in your MetaTrader 4 instance. I'm going to go ahead and clear all this stuff out. But this high that we're at is incredible. Okay, so there's been lost decades, many of them, okay, as far as the stock market goes. So it wouldn't be surprising to see us push sideways here, especially with all this demand at this area. And when I say all this demand, I'm talking about all the people that thought this was a good price for however long this box went on. Okay, so those people may still be holding there, okay, in both directions. And that being said, the people that are obviously holding long, they're making money right now. Okay, there are people holding short there as well that are still short. Okay, so the thing is that those people are going to hold on, and they might actually increase when we get to these higher levels and we start to test all-time highs, which is where we are right now. Okay, so if we break through this level at 4,800, off to the races, could go to 49, 5,000's in reach. All these numbers can happen. 5,100. There's all sorts of, anything can happen. If you wait long enough to watch this video, it probably already happened. But these are the next big levels in my mind. This 48.12 could be a place where we take a little bit of a break, but really 4,000 is in play. Okay, 41.83 is in play. I don't care what anybody says. Things can happen. That bring us back down to 43.47. Okay, but we could also just as quickly get to 5,300. Okay, so that is what the next extension is, and if you do hold long enough, then you'll probably see that number get hit. Okay, so it's really not about that in trading, it's really about what's going to happen next, and that's something that everybody wants to know more about. So depending on what happens with the Chinese manufacturing numbers, we could see a dip. This 46.11 number looks pretty nice to me, really just for a test. We're at basically all-time highs. It would be crazy if we didn't test the range that we were in on the weekly chart here. So I am short here, also full disclosure. And that is what I plan to be for quite some time. because I do think these numbers get hit at least one more time. We got too many missed targets here, and there's too many things going on in the world. We've got, multiple wars going on. Like, I don't see, and China's talking about, how China and Taiwan are the same country. There's nothing that separates them. So that narrative is changing, and that could cause more issues because the U.S. has been backing Taiwan quietly. At least it seems that way to me. But I'm just a guy, so we'll see what happens. But let's go ahead and look at gold. XAUUSD. Bring it on. And gold is going to be fun to watch. Okay, let's zoom out here. Let's go to the month. And those of you that don't trade gold, maybe you've been paying attention, maybe you haven't. But this upward wedge has been happening for quite some years now. Okay, so we are looking at increasing price demand and price supply, and this could go much higher. I really think closing at higher prices is in the cards for gold. And if things keep going the way that they are, we've got so many elections next year. Okay, I don't know if anybody remembers 2020. That was an election year. That was the last presidential election year we had. Okay, in USA, and there's elections all over the world scheduled for 2024. So if you're not ready for some big movement to happen in 2024, well, then you should probably gear up, watch more of these. But this is a higher high, okay, on gold. And if I'm looking at that, then, really, I want to know where the next potential high is. Where's the extension? That's all the way up at 2171. Okay, so we might not be ready for a breather until we get there. And I think we can go a heck of a lot higher. I think, really, I've been predicting as high as 2,800 for next year on gold. So if you're not hot on gold, then I don't know how, because reality is it's been bullish. I was actually, prior to the new all-time highs, I was actually kind of in the bear camp because I thought we were going to come down and test this trend line, but that didn't happen. Okay, so that's why you trade with stop loss, people. But let's keep on rolling here. I think another one that I've been playing a lot with is this German 40. And there's a lot of different names for this one. I think it might be GE30 in here, maybe. German. Let's see. GE30. Nope. Let's find it over here. Let's just... We're going to open up this German 40. Because this one hit an all-time high at 17,000. And I've been having a lot of fun shorting this one. I think it's probably been one of my bigger winners. Over the course of the last, couple weeks. But let's go ahead and it may be done. It may be ready to start pushing this thing the other direction. But we're going to launch the chart. We're going to take a look-see. And we're at 16,731, just floating like a butterfly. And we do have a big, it's a fresh high. It's a all-time high up here at 1702. That was a catch-up trade. I was short of that. I think I got it in at $17,002. Was the first short I had on that one. So relatively interesting. It's been up for many weeks in a row. So this is the weekly chart we're looking at here now. And in my mind, it wouldn't be crazy to see 16.5. Okay, so that being said, even lower is 16 is also a place that we didn't test. Okay, so these are big missed targets that I'm talking about here. And if those don't get hit, then maybe they do later. Maybe they never get hit. Obviously you can see that this thing can move, much further up than it has, in the last 8 weeks. Okay, so that is not an uncommon move for it to do that, but usually it comes back and it tests. This other high here came back and it tested. So wouldn't be, crazy for us to see 16.5. So I am short there. It is taking its sweet time to get there. I think some of that might come down to the Chinese numbers that come out here shortly. Let's get back over to Smart Trader. And, there's a couple more things I want to take a look at here. And like I said, I'm looking at, strength in gold and really commodities in general. So if that's the case, then I may want to do something to, maybe trade the Australian dollar. And, if I want to trade the Australian dollar, if I'm looking for strength there, I want to go somewhere where there could be weakness. And Aussie USD could be a good place to look, especially if I'm looking at weakness in the dollar yen. And I've been in this one for a while too. I think really 70 cents is kind of my target. That's still 170 pips away. So if we're not there yet. So that being said, this is what I'm looking at. And I'll go to the higher time frame here. We could really, I think, play this entire box, depending on how long this goes on for. But we've broken the inner trend here on this Aussie USD. So this could be just where we get a test at 70 cents. And then I think there'll be more buying opportunities down here, kind of where we are right now. So I'm in buy mode on the Aussie, and I will be for quite some time based on that. And this Aussie New Zealand, I think, is something that's been waiting to break out for my entire trading career since I started, 10 years ago. So I'm expecting this one to break out big. And, really, even if you trade the consolidation zone that we're in right now, 110 is far away, hundreds of pips. And this thing is slow. So, if you're a beginner trader, you're not really overly comfortable with Forex. If you trade this one small, you might get a feel for how slow it moves versus everything else. And there could be big opportunity here. But that being said, we've got an interesting week planned for next week. The non-farm payroll is going to be big news. Okay, the Chinese manufacturing numbers, big news. If you're not paying attention to this stuff, then you should be, because there will be big opportunities. Well, you should be if you're interested in making money trading. Other than that, you probably don't have to care. I mean, your life probably doesn't change a whole lot. People complain about politics constantly. Obviously I just went to, I celebrated Christmas with my family, and everybody wants to talk politics, but none of it really affects me most of the time. So, I mean, it's hard to get upset about all the things that happen on the news. And, and when we get to, I'm going to go ahead and close this out here. When we start looking at things like, okay, Donald Trump is, well, they're trying to hold him off the ballot in Colorado and also in Maine now. So really starting to heat up. And I think the election is going to be one of the more crazy things, to affect markets from a geopolitical standpoint since 2020. And the 2020 election was very stressful for everybody in America. I'm not sure about everybody outside of America, but that said, the outcome didn't go smooth. We had the insurrection, we had all this other stuff. Call it what you want, but the news cycle got loud in 2020, and I'm expecting the news cycle to get loud in 2024. And if there's anything that a loud news cycle might, really kind of ramp up, might be something like gold. So it could be big opportunity in miners next year. It could be big opportunity in gold. Silver could finally break above 25, but who knows? So pay attention. The beginning of the year is going to be exciting. Okay, so if you're not watching Saturday when these Chinese numbers come out for manufacturing, Monday there'll be more of them. You're going to want to check those, I think, more than anything else. And the jobs report next week is going to be very, very active, I think. So could be bigger moves than we've seen since last year, or the last time we saw flash crashes in the yen, which really wasn't that long ago, a week or so ago. So if the Japanese decide to make more moves, they've got a lot of room to do it right now if they want to sell off U.S. Treasury bonds, but we don't need to get too deep into that at the end of the session. So thank you for staying till the end. Check out our website if you haven't. I put a synopsis of my notes from the economic calendar below the video in the notes section here. If you liked the video, then push the like button for me, especially if you made it this far. By all means, share it with people if it's something you think that they'll like. And hey, I look forward to seeing you next week. I hope you have a wonderful new year. Again, I'm Will Bridges from your team at THF. Be good or be good at it. Take care.